So, hello to everyone. I'm honored to welcome you to the, before that, I'm reminding myself and everybody, let's say, close our cellular. So I'm very honored to welcome you all to the first scientific conference in Israel about mindfulness and neuroscience. I must say that we were all very surprised from the enormous response of people. We planned at a small conference, 100, 150 people, and about 3.5 weeks ago, the places for this auditorium were already fully booked. Someone told me that we are competing with Leonard Cohen. And now we also have, in addition to this auditorium, another auditorium just here where people are also participating. It's supposed to be off. I closed it before and now it's on again. Sorry. And so we have another 140 people with us in the next auditorium. So we're around 400 people, and I think it's very exciting. And I first of all want to thank all of you for coming, and by coming showing how this topic is important. The scientific conference and the scientific retreat that will be following it is the first event organized by the Unit of Applied Neuroscience. The Unit of Applied Neuroscience was founded here at the IDC a bit more than a year ago as part of the new School of Psychology led by Professor Mallory Kolinser, which as many of you probably know, is leading a spirit of social activism, stressing the important role of researchers and clinicians in playing a role as a catalyst of social change. So in this spirit, we set ourselves the goal not only to contribute new scientific knowledge, but also to help accelerate the usually passive propagation of knowledge from the scientific community to the lay community. As a neuroscientist, I am often amazed and discouraged by the huge gap between the knowledge I know exists about the brain and outdated or simplistic preconceptions that govern people's opinions and choices. It can often take years and even decades for cutting-edge scientific knowledge to actually cause a significant change in our daily lives. So here we hope to influence this process of dissemination, and today we are presenting our unit's first offering, the tool of Mindfulness Mind Training. Unlike many other tools offered by science, this tool is not technologically sophisticated, does not require much money, and can be implemented immediately by each individual. Actually, it's a tool that has been around for thousands of years, but has not been taken too seriously by the majority of people. Now, with the assistance of scientific findings, this mindfulness mind training tool can reach wider circles of the society and become more scalable. Today, we would like to update the Israeli scientific community about what is already happening in the world, and especially in the United States, for the past 10 years. Namely, that mindfulness mind training is emerging as a powerful tool that can improve the brain's emotional self-regulation abilities, enhance the brain's attentional and cognitive abilities, and even increase activity in brain areas underlying positive qualities of mind, such as compassion, kindness, and forgiveness. In the context of Israeli society, with its complex demographical and political situation that is penetrating all levels of life here, it is clear that such a tool is a necessity and far from a luxury. Many may find it strange that neuroscience has turned back to interact with ancient traditions and methods. This is not a drawback, but rather the result of our tremendous advancement in the past decade, which enables us not only to understand simple behavior in the sterile laboratory setting, but to go outside the laboratory and seek to understand more complex and rich human experiences. As we know and understand more of the relationship between brain and behavior, neuroscientists have more courage and confidence to tackle questions that have a more holistic and subjective nature. In the search for more complex states of mind, neuroscientists stumbled upon a very unique state of mind, that of meditators who spend hours in internal introspection and can induce in themselves unique states of mind. These meditators, through many years of cultivation of emotional and attentional capabilities, have reached expert levels, and their experiences can shed light on these processes in the brain. For neuroscientists who already have tools sensitive enough to see small differences in brain activity from moment to moment, these meditators were highly trained to observe their own minds and give precise reports about what is happening are a real jewel. Indeed, scientists are finding that the subjective reports coming from these meditators are in line with various changes in the structure and function of different areas in the brain. Interestingly, these changes are also accompanied by positive changes in psychological well-being. Some of you may ask, why Buddhism? What had it got to do with science? It is important to clarify this point. While mindfulness practice has been viewed by Westerners as merely a form of relaxation, whose benefits are limited to stress relief or lowered blood pressure, in the Buddhist tradition, it is actually a rigorous system of mind training and observation of mental processes. In Buddhism, they considered their own science of mind. From its outset, Buddhism has had a very strong emphasis on enhancing attention skills and developing very sophisticated means for investigating the nature of the mind from a first-person perspective. This investigation and rigorous nature of Buddhism enables dialogue with neuroscience, both because they provide a rare opportunity to study the effects of prolonged mental training on brain's tuning and organization and its possible limits, and the fact that these states of mind seem to go together with better psychological well-being. Buddhist monks are not only interesting subjects. The fruitful dialogue of these two investigative traditions can provide insights on the basic constructs that underlie many spiritual paths and are responsible to their positive effects in human experience. The fact is that this dialogue seems indeed very fruitful. Not only did neuroscience give mindfulness meditation, or is giving mindfulness meditation practices a legitimacy, it has also gained important insights about fundamental brain processes such as attention, emotion regulation, and the processing of positive and negative emotions. Centers that are investigating mindfulness are beginning to appear in prestigious universities like Stanford, UCSD, and the University of Madison, Wisconsin, and conferences hosting the Dalai Lama are being hosted and sponsored by prestigious universities like MIT and Harvard. Here at the IDC, we have a vision to use these newly emerging centers as a model to develop a unique center that will be specifically sensitive to the needs of the Israeli society. We are currently seeking resources to create a center that will bring cutting-edge, multidisciplinary scientific insights from different fields to bear on challenges of human growth across the lifespan and to promote healthy development and healthy aging. A central principle of this center will be constantly to interact with the wisdom accumulated by professionals from other fields and integrated with cutting-edge scientific knowledge. A central part of this center will be dissemination and outreach activities in order to deliver the most effective solutions for improving well-being to individuals throughout society. As I said, mindfulness mind training is our first offering in this direction. Okay, so this was the future, and now we're in the present. And what do we have today? Today, we will first hear from Yaakov Raz what mindfulness is from a deeper perspective. We will then hear from Richie Davidson about the significant advancement made in understanding the biological effects of meditation on the brain and body. Then we will have a lunch break, during which you are invited to view the posters describing work relevant to this conference. After lunch, we will hear Son Preminger about attempts to elucidate the neuronal correlates of subjective thought. Then we will hear from Michal Schwartz about the biological correlates of mind-brain-body connection. After another short break, we will hear from Aviva Berkovich-Ohana about the first scientific studies of meditation done in Israel. And finally, from Nachi Alon, the implication of this knowledge to the clinic. I think I'm very proud to say that we're hosting today at IDC top scientists coming from Wisconsin-Madison, from Tel Aviv University, from Bar Ilan University, from the Weizmann Institute. At the end of the day, we will bring together the scientists and contemplatives to discuss how these two fields can further enrich one another. For 85 of you, this event will not end today. We will meet again tomorrow in Neve Shalom for a 4-day mindfulness retreat and discussion. I'm proud to say that we used all the income from the conference for more than 20 scholarships to encourage neuroscience students to come to this retreat and experience themselves the meaning of mindfulness mind training. I think it's very important that people who investigate the mind will also have an opportunity to investigate their own mind. As they're our next generation of scientists, they're also our hope to help incorporate this tool to the use of society. Finally, I want to thank the wonderful students and IDC staff, in particular Karen Mifano, Chofit Levi, Sharon Simchoni, Shuli Sardes, Tammy Berger and their teams that have worked day and night voluntarily to make this occasion happen. Thank you all for coming, and I hope to see you in the next conference that is planned to focus on mindfulness, education, and the brain. For the coordination of the next session, I invite Daniel Levy, the core director of the Unit of Applied Neuroscience. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Our first speaker, Yaakov Raz, is a professor of Japan Studies and Zen Buddhism at the Tel Aviv University, where he has been the head of the Department of East Asian Studies. Professor Raz lived in Japan and East Asia for many years, and he is the author of numerous articles and books about Japan, Buddhism, and Zen, including, and I hope that my translation from Hebrew to English is not too misleading, Insane Conversations, Zen Practices, A Man in Search of a Cow, Japanese Mythology, Tokyo To and Fro, Zen Buddhism, Philosophy and Aesthetics, and my own personal favorite, the annotated commentary translation of Matsuo Basco, The Narrow Road to Oku. Beautiful book. Professor Raz is also active in Zen Buddhism studies and Zen meditation outside the academic world, and he is involved in activities aiming towards the achievement of multicultural society, dialogue, and toleration between Jews and Arabs in Israeli society. Together with psychologist Nachi Alon, who is also in our program for today, he teaches the Dharma from psychological, personal, and organizational perspectives in the context of the Psychodharma organization. Professor Raz also advises organizations in Europe and Asia on the integration of Buddhist practice and wisdom in the whoop and warp of everyday life. And his topic for today is emptying mindfulness, its useful uselessness. So please join me in welcoming Professor Yaakov Raz.
Good morning. I have to be mindful. Am I? I chose this quotation behind me. There's something which is beautiful, and I might as well finish my talk and go away because it says everything. And whatever I'm going to say is an expression of many years of study and teaching and practice especially. And I thank my teachers, my colleagues, and my students. So this is the first quotation, and I would like to go on with a few others as the beginning of my talk. The first one is from the internet, and it's a website on mindfulness. And it says like this: "Give me 90 days, and I'll prove you can calm the mind and feel happier, or I will refund your money and let you keep these amazing bonuses for your trouble." This is one. The second is that one of from Walden by Henry David Thoreau. These are the closing sentences of the book, by the way. Only that day dawns to which we are awake. And the Buddha might say, only that moment dawns to which we are awake. The third quotation is, I think everybody knows the next one. "I'm not sleepy and there's no place I'm going to." Mr. Tambourine Man, Bob Dylan. "I'm not sleepy and there's no place I'm going to" is a perfect illustration of mindfulness. So let's do it. And the next one is a Zen story. One day a man said to the Zen master EQ, "Master, will you please write for me some maxims of the highest wisdom?" EQ took his brush and wrote the word mindfulness. "Is that all?" asked the man. "Will you not add something more?" EQ then wrote twice, running, mindfulness, mindfulness. "Well," remarked the man, irritated, "I really don't see much depth or subtlety in what you have just written." Then EQ wrote the same word 3 times, running, mindfulness, mindfulness, mindfulness. Half angered, the man declared, "What does the word mindfulness mean anyway?" And EQ answered gently, "Mindfulness means mindfulness." During the last few decades, the word mindfulness has been in extensive use in the West in a variety of contexts. A search for the word mindfulness produces 18,000 results in Amazon Books and over 2.5 million results in Google. A search for mindfulness workshops produces over 1 million results, and 700,000 results are listed for mindfulness retreats. Google Scholar Search produces 30,000 results, and among them 18,000 articles. There are probably books by the hundreds and articles by the thousands on this or that aspect of mindfulness. There is mindful mediation, mindful coaching, mindfulness for lawyers, therapists, educators, politicians, musicians, parents, mothers, peacemakers, and even idiots. There is a title, I'm not joking, The Complete Idiot's Guide to Mindfulness. A clinical handbook of mindfulness, books promising miracles, Asperger's syndrome and mindfulness, and of course numerous meditation courses, groups, retreats, workshops for stress reduction, for traumas, anxieties, relaxation, money-making, you name it, in which mindfulness is practiced, preached, and sometimes disrespected and abused. So what is the practice of mindfulness? Let us look at some sources. Mindfulness is the most common translation of the Pali word sati, which I will use in the following minutes. Sati is also translated as attention, awareness, wakefulness, etc. In the Satipatthana Sutta, Buddha teaches his disciples about sati, which is mindfulness. The bhikkhu, which is the monk, abides reflecting this body up from the soul, down from the hair, on the top, and surrounded by the skin as full of various impurities. There are in this body head hair, body hair, nails, teeth, skin, flesh, veins, bones, bone marrow, kidneys, heart, liver, pleura, spleen, lungs, blood, sweat, fat, and so on and so forth. Just like a bag of provisions open on both sides is filled up with various grains such as rice, paddy, green grass, beans, sesame, and fine rice. A man who could see would pull it out and reflect. This is rice, this is paddy, this is green grass, this is beans, this is sesame, this is fine rice. In the same manner, the bhikkhu, the monk, abides reflecting this body up from the soul, down from the hair on the top, and surrounded by skin full of various impurities. There are in this body head hair, body hair, nails, teeth, skin, flesh, veins, bones, bone marrow, kidneys, pleura, spleen, and so on and so forth. This is a traditional description of the practice of sati. Sati, or attentiveness, is to be diligently aware, mindful and attentive to the activities of the body, the sensations and feelings, the activities of the mind, and to ideas, thoughts, conceptions, and things. Sati is the practice where the practitioner abides, intensely ardent, mindful and fully understanding, having overcome craving and grief. While dwelling like this, he may perceive his body, feelings, and etc. as impermanent, painful, and uncontrollable. I invite you now to look at the context of sati. Sati is not an isolated practice in the Buddha's teaching. Sati is just one field of practice within the context of the first discourse of the Buddha after his awakening. In this discourse, the Buddha shared with his disciples his insights into the nature of the world, the nature of the mind, and the nature of dukkha, which is suffering or dissatisfaction, and his design for an awakened life, for a cessation of the Buddha, of the dukkha. Sati, mindfulness, appears twice in the Buddha's first discourse. The first time is at the very beginning of his speech, and it goes like this: bhikkhus, which is monks. These two extremes ought not to be cultivated. What are these two? There is devotion to indulgence of pleasure in the objects of sensual desire, which is inferior, low, vulgar, ignoble, and leads to no good. There is devotion to self-torment, which is painful, ignoble, and leads to no good. The middle way discovered by the perfect one, which is the Buddha, who is the Buddha, avoids both these extremes. And what is the middle way? It is simply this: right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, which is sati, and right concentration. This is the middle way. This then is the first time sati is mentioned here as an answer to the question, what is the middle way? Or, I would say, what is the wholesome way of living and being? The term sati is mentioned again as part of the path to a cessation of suffering. It comes after the first noble truth, which is identifying the disease, suffering. The second noble truth, which traces the origins of suffering. The third noble truth, which speaks of the possibility of the cessation of the origins of suffering, and thereby suffering itself. And what is the way of cessation of suffering? It is right view, right intention, and so on, and right mindfulness, and right concentration. Exactly the same wording as in the first part. So this is a part of what is called Eightfold Path, which is 8 practices of being and healing, in which one of them is sati, mindfulness. All 8 practices are preceded by the word samma, usually translated as right, which is not so right. Samma is a sister word of the Indo-European words such as sam, as in S-U-M, whole, same, similar, sing, such as in symphony, sympathy, synchrony, synergy, etc. In this sense, samma means not right as opposed to wrong, but wholesome, in harmony with, or in the musical sense of tuned. So we're talking about wholesome view, wholesome livelihood, wholesome speech, or harmonious effort. Tuned mindfulness, tuned concentration, it implies attention and listening. So sammasati, or right mindfulness, should be read as harmonious mindfulness, wholesome attention, and tuned awareness. What is then the difference between the two appearances of sati and the 8 practices? I propose that the first time sati is seen as a way of living and being, while the second time is suggested as a way of healing. Is one of these approaches preferred by the Buddha? Certainly not. He certainly recommends the 8 practices as both a way of being and as a tool of healing. Sati mindfulness is part of this. But these 8 fields should not be practiced differently or separately. They should be practiced together. Not one of these can be isolated and practiced without the others. Sati cannot be practiced without right view, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort. And the same way, right speech and right effort cannot be practiced without mindfulness. This, I propose, should be in mind whenever we discuss mindfulness. There is, of course, nothing wrong with using mindfulness as a tool for helping and healing. It is certainly a powerful one. Yet I propose that the real power of sati is actually not in its usefulness, but in its uselessness. Its main power arises when practicing it without a goal in mind, not even liberation, not even release from suffering. It promises nothing, but produces abundance. Sati is a practice of liberation, not for liberation. The awareness from moment to moment, from one sensation to the next, is its strength. From one moment to the next, as a sensation appears and disappears, and we don't reject nothing and don't hold on to nothing, we are practicing liberation. Noticing this and then that, realizing this and then that, being aware of body sensation, exhale, inhale, a sound, a passion, dissatisfaction, joy. This is the practice. I use the word practice in the sense that it is not a practice with a name, getting to a destination, but practice as in the word a practicing lawyer, or a practicing doctor, or practicing motherhood. One achieves motherhood while practicing it. One is practicing fatherhood, not in order to become a father. One realizes one's motherhood by being and practicing one's motherhood. There is no end to practicing parenthood, and there is no distinction between practicing parenthood and realizing parenthood. Sati is the same. It is realization of practice. It is a practice in realization. Sati is practicing change and impermanence, not practicing in order to understand and know about impermanence. Impermanence, then, is lived, not achieved. Sati is a goal-free practicing zone. In this way, it is the actualization of what is, not a means to an end. It is deep, aimless inquiry into the nowness of being, not a tool for further goals, important as they may be. It has fruits, but it does not aim at these fruits. The fruits are unexpected, are given by grace, not by intention or craving for achievement, not even the achievement of awakening, clarity, equanimity, calmness, or nirvana. God forbid. Nor are these fruits given to us as a result of pointing to a destination. Expecting these fruits is a seed of craving, and thereby dissatisfaction. Sati is practicing emptiness. By emptiness, we mean the lack of inherent or substantial existence of all phenomena. While being aware of our subtle existences of the moment, we perceive that these do not indeed exist permanently and separately, but only in relation to a set of causes and conditions that rise and pass away. Our being is lived then as a process in which is in flux each and every moment and depends entirely on whatever is. When we try to identify a core, an entity comprising the self, we are unable to find one. although we do recognize the stream of narrative that we might mistake for soul itself. Sati may be practiced in the daily meditation or in everything we do: walking, washing, eating, sitting, talking, fighting, working, meditating, whatever. Sati is not dependent on emotional or mental states. You don't have to be calm in order to practice sati. You don't have to walk slowly to be mindful, which we will do in the next 4 days very slowly. You can plan, bathe, talk, argue, sing, or jog. Sati is present time awareness. It takes place here and now, observing what is happening right now at the present moment. Sati stays forever in the present, forever on the now, precious, ever-changing peaks of the passing time. Sati is acceptance of both self and others. There are no preferences in the practice of sati. We might see in a meditation objects of fear or desire, but we reject none, prefer none. It is the practice of equanimity. It is accepting this and that without being attached to either. It is like a mirror. It rejects nothing, holds on to nothing, and prefers nothing. It is embracing of whatever is as it is, no more, no less. In the same way, it is a practice of compassion for all beings, within or without, mental or physical, for oneself and for all beings, as they come, stay and dissolve, as they come, stay and dissolve. Sati is to notice the richness and complexity of sensations, the stream of feelings, stimulations, the subtle stream of particles from all that. It is letting go of images of both self and the others, negative or positive views. It is being free of the need to agree or disagree with anything. It is time for time off. It is time for time out. The sounds, smells, lights, and frequencies of everything are there to be. It is inquiring without inquiry into the heart of everything, into what I call nano-existence, before everything is shaped into names, categories, departments, religions, good and bad, pleasant and unpleasant, friends and foes. The self is then emptied, relieved, liberated from self-centered images and thoughts. Self becomes part of a continuum with no beginning and no end. No entrance door and no exit door to being. My and mine are null and void. So aiming for immediate benefits of sati is one option. The other, possibly much more profound and paradoxically much more effective, is to see sati as a path that teaches how to live and how to be. Not a path aimed at immediate benefits at all. And yet, a path that almost unintentionally also provides many immediate benefits. Not that I deny the benefits of sati practice for specific goals, ailments, and business ends. But there is a great danger there. The danger is in effect that these practices assume a cure for the self, improvement of the self, liberating of the self, while ignoring the fact that the practice of sati questions moment to moment the very solidity of a separate and constant self. Sati is in itself the actualization of an open, no-boundary selfhood, which is actually non-selfhood. Noticing and minding the transient sensations, voices, sights, and feelings, one cannot point to an owner of those feelings, nor to an agent who creates them. And so, egolessness is the practice of sati, not its goal. Sati is not a way to sit in the present so that things get better in the future, or clearer, or happier. It is not a means for more beauty, more joy, more peace, more anything. It is the awareness that sati itself and life is a series of mind moments, one after another, one after another. These are bits of suchness, events as they are, neither beautiful nor ugly. By abiding in the now, I am free from the distress that comes from clinging to sensations, free from desire, that is free from the cause of suffering. By understanding the now as impermanent and by letting it be impermanent, happiness comes. But even happiness is not the goal of sati. The more we practice sati, the less we care to find some hidden truth, meaning or beauty in the mind experiences. This is not indifference. This is liberation. Non-attachment is freedom, complete with no strings attached. No conditions are needed in order to become liberated. No revelations, no divine music, no mystical experiences, or the promised meeting with creation, because creation is here. Then pleasure and pain stop being conditions or obstacles for happiness. I would like to read from the great Sufi master Rumi in his beautiful poem, The Guest House. This being human is a guest house. Every morning a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness, some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they are a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still, treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. And I'll finish with a short quotation from a beautiful, beautiful book called The Listening Book by an American musician and composer, William Matthew, or his full name is William Alauddin Matthew. He is a Sufi too. And the book is called The Listening Book, and these are the closing sentences of the book, The Listening Book. A miller, tochen yani, the miller grinds grains of wheat all day. By sunset, he has a bag of perfect white flour. The flour says to the miller, "Are you fine enough yet? Are you fine enough yet?" The baker takes the flour to be baked into bread. Next morning, the bread comes steaming hot out of the oven and says to the baker, "You certainly look delicious to me." Thank you.